This new plan of modernization falls perfectly in line with a project country leaders began back in the late 1960s. This is the Atarouche Ranch, nestled gently in the hands of the Middle Atlas Mountains. Here, the hills break from gentle rolls into soaring patriarchs of the land below. The Atarouche Ranch was created with the help of Moroccan royalty in 1969. Its purpose was to reinvent the country's herdsman-style cattle business and instead model it after one of America's own legends of production.
So Ranch Atarouche was created in the year 1969 as a joint venture between the Moroccan state and King Ranch of Texas. The objective was to obtain quality meat and to extend the race of the Santa Gertrudis.
The Santa Gertrudis were then bred back to native cattle in order to pass on those native traits to the import breed.
They were actually a bit more technology inclined. They had tractors. Like I said, they were using feedlots. They had fences. They were using horses to move the animals around. They had a veterinarian on staff, and they were actually using the veterinary. They had a parasite and vaccination program.
Made up of 10,300 hectares, or about 22,000 acres, the Atarouche Ranch is an area that, because of its hilly and rocky terrain, is suited more for grazing than crops. It runs 5,300 head of Santa Gertrudis cattle, 2,800 of which are females grouped into pastures of 300.
We start very early in the morning. As you know, in farming, the animals are living on the land in extensive, and we have shepherds or herders who live directly each time with a certain amount of animals. They bring them on horseback to the different paces, and they check them to see if they're all right, if they may have some kind of illness, disease, or bad feet or whatever.
They had an individual herder per 300 head of cattle in each of their paddocks. And each one of these herders actually lived with these cattle. They had a small hut, small tent there with the cattle, and they were with them 24/7. So these ranchers would know exactly what was going on with these animals. They'd know if one was sick, one was lame, when one was going to calve.
The ranch also sports a 4,000 head feedlot, where, because of the culture, bulls are never cut, and maximizing daily gains are more important than taste or tenderness.
It's a little different where they don't castrate any of the bulls, and the bulls are all, left intact plumb through the slaughter process, and that's a little different, but mostly along the same lines as what we are. I mean, the cows are out on free range, and they gather the calves up at weaning time and bring them into a feedlot.
An ever-growing population and increasing disposable income has livestock producers watching demand go up and encouraging them to keep pushing the feed to their herd.
Their major feed stuff that they feed these cattle is straw and barley, and the barley is actually crushed into a fine powder. They have very, very, very minimal access to corn. It's not a product that is grown here, and the corn that they do have has to be shipped in is very expensive.
I was really surprised about how wet it was. It's been raining, which is unusual for the country at this time of year. In Oklahoma, we try to move them to different areas if they're getting into real sticky situations, but those cattle were pretty well knee-deep.
As Moroccan agriculture continues to modernize, even its most modern examples are striving for improvement. The Atarouche Ranch is no different. Oklahoma's agriculturalists offered a myriad of suggestions from their windshield view of operations, things like improving feedlot nutrition, finding ways to capture rainfall runoff for herds during periods of drought, an homage to Oklahoma's affection for the dirt pond, and working to improve conception rates above 70%.
This is my first time to travel abroad. I visited with some people who had traveled to the continent of Africa and had a concept in my mind of what I might expect in Morocco, but I really didn't know what to expect of a European farm. So this was a fabulous experience to be exposed to this.
As the Arab world's third most populous country, Morocco has a lot of mouths to feed. Citizens rely on commodity products price support from the king's government in order to keep food affordable. But when 90% of the population only have 10% of the country's wealth, it's not easy for everyone to feed their family.
I didn't expect there to be such a poverty level in Morocco. I'm not sure why I didn't expect that, but I did not expect that. It was an eye-opening experience.
An experience that was just beginning. The Oklahoma Ag Leadership class was aboard another ferry sailing the Straits of Gibraltar, bound for Spain.